Thanks everybody for coming out. If we, I think we'll get started in a few minutes if you want to take a seat, and we'll have a few people start, but really this is just a celebration of life for people to share stories, talk about Gabe's impact, but yeah, thank you all for coming out.
You say no to faith or
Thanks everybody. My name is Gabe, current president of SEMA. A month ago, we saw, a true outpouring of support and love for Gabe. I personally did not know him, but just knowing the scope or the virality of everybody talking about him, when everybody asked or reached out at just where do we do this? How do we celebrate? I just knew that, we have a little bit of experience planning events, and very luckily when we looked at a few spots around town, I just thought we can do it here. And I really want to thank everybody who has helped with security or IT over the past couple days. But this is your event. I would love for everybody to share any cherished memories that the group, I'm sure, will enjoy. He seems like he had just a tremendous impact on our entire industry, and it's great in my current very middle of my career to realize that I can tell the newest group of associates you can have this type of impact on our industry. And so with that, I will share with who wants to go first.
Thank you so much.
I think it's going.
All right. Thank you everyone so much for being here. I really wish there were better circumstances, but I think Gabe would be so proud to see everyone that's here, knowing the impact that he had on everyone's life, as a colleague, as a friend, just a lot more. My name is Mittal. I was Gabe's manager for a few years at SpotX, what would become Magnite. And we were also friends. We lived in the same town. We did things together. We had lunch as friends, and got to know him and his family outside of work, which was a really special opportunity. I also want to thank Rachel Tugender and Amanda Kenefick for everything that they've done to help bring this event to life. As friends that you were to Gabe outside of work, I know he and Hannah loved you both a lot. And also just talking to both of you throughout this has been so helpful in the healing process, and just reminds me of how important our industry is and how close everyone is. So there's some positive that comes out of this. And lastly, I want to thank Gage and SEMA. We could not have done this without you. Just the fact that you were able to get the space for us, to have people come in from New York, Chicago, from Publicis, from Mindshare, from everywhere that Gabe worked. It's just so nice to have the space. And most of all, I really hope the Zoom link worked. I didn't tell you this, Gage, but Gabe had a long running battle with the all things IT at 35 West Wacker. I'm sure anyone that's in sales that's ever done a meeting here has had the same, but Gabe in particular, it was a big thorn in his side. Every time we came in the building, he would ask our hosts if he could get in the room 20 minutes early to mess with the TV to make sure that he had the right cord or the right dongle, and it never worked. However, the last meeting that I ever did in this building with Gabe was with Maggie and the Best Buy team. And lo and behold, I walked in the room Gabe had everyone on video. He had the screen up and he was so proud. So I'm glad that was his last meeting. And honestly, Gabe would get a big kick out of the efforts that you put in to make sure that that this works. I know Gabe has a lot of his family from Virginia Beach is also listening in. So I'm thankful that they have the opportunity to hear stories because I know they probably don't have a lot of visibility into Gabe's work life. And so I know there's a lot of people that care and want to share those memories. So I'm hopeful that they all hear that. And lastly, you'll see there's a couple signs around here with a big picture of Gabe and a QSR code. That code links to the GoFundMe that we started for the Cohen family, for Hannah and for Shane and Eden and Olive. We'll be donating that money to them for their future needs. So with all that said, I want to start telling a story about where and how I met Gabe. I was back in 2016. I had just started at SpotX. I was their first seller calling on the holding companies and was talking to anyone I could about programmatic and video. Unbeknownst to me, Gabe had also recently moved to Chicago. And one day I was walking through the city, going between meetings, and I got a phone call from one of our mid-market sellers on the East Coast. And he said, I've got a longtime client who is moving to Chicago. He got a job at Starcom on the Mars Wrigley business. I don't think he knows many people, but I think you guys would get along, and his name's Gabe Cohen, so you should reach out. And I'm sure a lot of people in the room have texted and talked to Gabe, but he's very quick on the response. And in this particular case, we found ourselves having lunch about a week later at Sienna Tavern. I heard all about his kids, the move to Chicago, and just how hard that was, and just kind of settling and finding his place here. And I left that conversation just understanding what a dreamer he was, and knowing his dream was he wanted to work at a big agency. He wanted to get into sales. He wanted to live that life. And Chicago was where he was going to do that. And he was just so happy to be here. And I remember walking back, I walked him back to the building because he still didn't totally know his way around. And I watched him look at the buildings, look at the people, feel the energy of the city. And I could tell he loved being here. And I think that was really the moment where Gabe started pitching himself for a job at SpotX. And it worked. So in late 2018, I had 2 roles open up on my team. And Gabe went for one of them. And at that time, we had a pretty extensive interview process, and I think we still do. But Gabe did amazing from the pitch to everything. He absolutely knocked everyone's socks off. The consistent feedback I got from everyone on the panel was hire this guy. We need him on our team and we want him on our team. And I'll never forget the last text that he sent me after that final interview. He said, "Thank you for putting me through this process. Even if I don't get this job, we're still going to be friends." And I think that's really important for a lot of people to know, is he called everyone his friend, and he really meant it. Even if you didn't hear it, I definitely heard him call you his friend. It was for him, it was his term that he used for every single person that he cared about. There's also a lot of funny stuff that Gabe did. I'm going to tell a story about his first business trip with SpotX. I think what everyone should understand is that Gabe really had a kid's sense of adventure. He always wanted to have fun and experience the things that he had never done before. So back in the SpotX days, we were headquartered in Broomfield, Colorado, and we would send all of our new hires out there for a week for onboarding, get trained up and meet the team and understand the company culture and what we were trying to do. So before Gabe left, he told me he had never gone skiing before and he really wanted to go skiing in Colorado. I told him, your schedule is going to be pretty packed. I don't know if you're going to be able to get to from Broomfield up to Winter Park, which would probably be the closest place to ski. And he said, "Don't worry, I think I can figure it out. I'm going to do it after work. It'll be great." Gabe, you got to rent a car. You got to get skis. There's a lot of logistics involved in this. This isn't just going up to Wisconsin and going out for the day. I don't think he really cared because he went and did it anyway. And the next morning, I gave him a call. First thing, it was probably 8 a.m. Colorado time. And it was a little odd because I could hear the sound of a car. And what was more odd is the hotel he was staying at was next to the SpotX office. I said, hey, buddy, it sounds like you're driving. What's going on? He said, yeah, so I did go skiing last night. And I probably should have listened, but it snowed a lot. We got caught in a blizzard and I had to stay overnight on the mountain. Like, okay, are you okay? Can you get back to work? He said, yes, I woke up super early. I got through the snow. I'm on my way there. I will be there by 8:30. I was like, cool. Well, I don't think the Colorado people will be there till 9. So you're already ahead of the game. And really what I took away from it was, even with that sense of adventure and knowing what could happen, he drove through a blizzard and down a mountain to get to work. And just that level of commitment was amazing. And I think that's like what Gabe did with everything in life, was he threw himself fully into it, no matter what it was. At our team holiday parties, we would usually go out to a restaurant. We've had smaller teams, we've had larger teams, but we'd always go out and make a point of spending some time together. Just our team, where we could talk about what we were doing for the holidays, what we were doing for our families, and most of all, how excited we were just to have some time off. Gabe would always bring presents for everybody, and it was always in a big plastic bag. And it was usually small things, something pretty funny. I think one year he just gave me socks. And he didn't mind lugging the bag around. And it was, even though it was awkward, everyone asked him what's in the bag. And I think that's the part that he liked the most, because then he could really hit you with a really bad dad joke. But I seriously asked him that one time of why do you always bring the gifts? And he said, it's because I'm a giver and it's what I do. And I really can't think of a better way to describe Gabe. He was a giver of his time, his experience, and his encouragement. And the encouragement is what's most important from Gabe. Whether you are a friend, a colleague, or someone who needed a push, Gabe was the biggest believer in everyone that was close to him. And the last thing I'll say is I just wish you were here to see all of us together. And I know somewhere, somehow, he's got a big smile on his face, knowing that he brought all these people together, and he'd be so happy that we're here. So thank you very much for being here to celebrate Gabe. And I hope someone has some really funny stories to tell, because there's a lot. So I'm going to pass it to Rachel from here.
Thank you. Hi, guys. First of all, husband Matt, you printed the wrong copy, so I'm reading off my phone. So, hi, everyone. It's great to see so many familiar faces here today. For those of you guys that don't know me, I'm Rachel Tugender, and my husband, Matt, sorry, I'm keeping it together. My husband, Matt, and I were dear friends with Gabe and his family. I have to start off by saying thank you all so much for being here today to celebrate Gabe and honor the great man that he was. Looking around, I see the outpouring of love from our community, and I know it would have meant the world to Gabe that we were all here today. I, along with Gabe's family, have been deeply moved by your words of love and kindness for Gabe, affirming the profound impact he had on all of us. I spoke with Gabe's wife, Hannah, and she thanks you all for your love and your support. She said Gabriel would have loved to see everyone come together like this, and she feels very blessed. The first time I heard about Gabe was back in November of 2016, when my husband boomeranged back to Starcom and began working on the Mars Wrigley account with Gabe. Their bond was almost immediate, and I kept hearing his name around the house as we would debrief our days. When Gabe needed help moving his family into their new home in Downers Grove, Matt stepped up to help. Their friendship, or bromance, if you will, was solidified through the simple act of moving furniture and playing basketball with Gabe's son, Shane. Shane even gave Matt a playful nickname, Long Shot Guy, a name that stuck and Gabe always laughed about when we were all together. Matt, please stay at Attain, do not quit your day job. But it wasn't until one of our first encounters, I think, was at Star Bar down the hallway here, that I truly understood the kind of person Gabe was. His energy was infectious, and we became instant friends. Although Gabe and I never worked directly together, we had a mutual understanding of each other, professionally speaking. With virtually the same job for competing companies for many years, we often joked that we were the best of frenemies in the industry. And while it might not be best practice to name drop your direct competitor, Sorry, Stacy. I always name dropped Gabe to mutual clients. Why? Because I was so proud to call him my friend. Matt and I will forever be grateful to Gabe for welcoming us into his home over the years and sharing his family with ours. While I have several great memories, the one that distinctly stands out is something his daughter Olive said to me a couple of years ago. They were over for a barbecue and Olive asked me if I knew there was an angel named Gabriel. I said, "Oh my gosh, Olive, I didn't know that." She replied, "That means my daddy is an angel." It was so cute, sweet, and heartfelt, and a true testament of the type of dad he was to Shane and Eden and Olive. He was not just a friend, he was a professional confidant, a mentor, a guide, my biggest cheerleader, and a veteran parent whose advice I actually listened to. Gabe navigated this industry and his entire life with grace. Losing Gabe has really made me put life and our industry in perspective. You won't always remember the day-to-day of what RFP you won or lost, what deadline you missed, or the many fire drills you had. What you will remember are the people, and a lot of the people are here in this room. You'll remember the people and not necessarily the specific things they said day to day. What you will remember, though, is how they made you feel. Gabe made everyone around him feel good, and that's a rare talent. And while Gabe is gone, the impact his friendship had on me and so many of us in this room is forever. Let us hold on to the love, the laughter, and the legacy that Gabe leaves behind. His extraordinary life and the countless ways he touched ours will forever be cherished. The void and the grief we feel is deep, and it's a reflection of the immense love we had for him. Thank you, Gabe, for the memories, the lessons, and the joy. I miss you. I will continue to miss you, but I will never forget you. I am so proud to have been able to call you my friend, and for that, I thank you deeply. At this time, I'd like to draw everyone's attention to the QR code, along with, we have a sign-in memory book in the back. All of the proceeds will go to Gabe, Gabe's wife, Hannah, and his children. Thank you all so much for being here too. And thank you, Gage and Seema and everyone that's helped make this possible. Appreciate it. And then I think, so Amanda Kenefick was supposed to speak, but she had her baby. So
I have her speak.
Lauren.
Yes.
All right. Hi, everyone. Oh, gosh, bear with me. Okay, so I am Lauren Behrens. I'll be reading this on behalf of Amanda Kenefick, who's really, really close with Gabe. I wish I could be there today. My husband and I just welcomed our third child, a baby girl, Greta, on Saturday. So unfortunately, I'm not able to be there with you all to celebrate our friend and colleague, Gabe Cohen. I want to take a moment to sincerely thank Matt Mittal and the Magnite team, Rachel Tugender and Gage Berry and the SEMA organization for all the collaboration and helpful efforts in putting the celebration of life for Gabe together. And I want to welcome everyone who has joined us in celebrating a very special person that we all had the pleasure of knowing throughout our lives. Gabe was truly a wonderful human being, and today we are gathering not only to mourn his loss, but to celebrate him in the way he lived his life. To put it simply, Gabe was a special person. He was the kind of guy that went out of his way to make you feel good. He always had a smile on his face, and he was the kind of guy that would give his shirt off his back, even to a stranger. He had a zest for life and embraced the world with open arms. He also loved the Chicago community, and while this was work, he also made some friendships along the way with his coworkers, clients, and vendors like myself, and that he worked with when he was on the agency side. But at his core, Gabe was a loving, doting dad and a family man. Everything he did revolved around his kids and family. When he moved his family to Chicago from his home in Virginia in 2016, he came to grow his career in media where he would give the best life possible for his family. I was lucky to have met Gabe shortly after he moved to Chicago in 2017. I was introduced by my husband, Billy, who had been working with him when Gabe was on the programmatic team at Starcom on the Mars Wrigley pet brands. Immediately, I remember being impressed by the guy who was young and thriving in his career with 3 little kids at home. You couldn't talk to Gabe without hearing about what Shane, Eden, and Olive were up to. He loved them all to no ends. On the work front, Gabe worked hard and he quickly proved himself in the media world. Gabe and I really started to become friends when he was at Mindshare, and I remember us having a fun time brainstorming the perfect digital campaign for his client Zone Perfect that would drive coupons and sales. It was always fun working with Gabe because of his positive attitude and that he opened his whole self up to you. Funny enough, we actually never got that particular Zone Perfect campaign off the ground because he ended up leaving Mindshare for a new job on the sales side with Mittal. But none of that even mattered because he was just my friend now. Over the past 7 years, Gabe became a close friend of mine through work and through life. Again, he was always talking about his kids and his family. We regularly swapped stories of what we did with our families that weekend and parenting advice. As many also know, Gabe was also master of barbecue and cooking, and it was always fun to see what he was cooking up on the weekends, and making delicious meals was something he was very passionate about. He created Cooking with the Cohens on Instagram to showcase his dishes when he wasn't working, and the way he talked about food and cooking, you knew it was a passion of his. Gabe was also there for me anytime I needed advice. When I was originally thinking about making the move to the CTV space, Gabe said, "Do it. I promise you won't regret it." Immediately after starting at LG, Gabe went out of his way to make introductions for me and making it easier getting to know what was at the time a completely foreign part of the industry to me. There's so many stories I could share about Gabe and how wonderful he was, but this was just a bit of who he was. What's even more special is that we all individually have stories like this about Gabe and ways he made us feel special. In closing, and thinking about the ways we can all honor Gabe, I want to encourage everyone to live their life in the way that honors the zest for life and giving spirit that Gabe brought to the world each and every day. He was always giving to people and never seeking, and I think that's the perfect way for us to honor him moving forward. Living a life that focuses on helping others as well as being a positive light for others. To Gabe, we miss you here. You forever changed me and made an impact on my life, and I will always remember your kindness. Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren. Thank you, Amanda. So now I think we'll open it up. If anyone wants to share a story, share a memory, please feel free to come up here. And we can start a line, or whoever wants to go.
Everyone, I'm Maggie Savage. I was lucky enough to work with Gabe for about a year at Magnite, and he was, as everyone said, just the sweetest, kindest soul. Went out of his way to be helpful when I was completely new and knew nothing about Magnite, but he had been there for a long time and knew a lot. I would bug him constantly on Slack, and he never even like faltered and acted like I was bugging him. But we were lucky enough to get together for a few holidays, for dinners. And my favorite memory of Gabe was, yes, his passion for cooking, like everyone mentioned, but he also had a passion for gardening. So he would tell me a lot about his tomatoes and the different herbs that he had. And I thought it was cool that he also had a greenhouse outside of his place where he would keep it always at 40 degrees. And I'm like, wow, I'm totally stealing that idea. So I did. After I got home, I had my husband build me a greenhouse and I still have it till this day. And every time I'm out there and I look at it, I think about Gabe. So we're going to miss him a lot. And I wish he was still here. Sending lots of love to him and his family.
Greg Sherrill. It was phenomenal to work with Gabe for a few years, and wish I had much more time with him. We mostly talked about his family, not work. So I won't share any personal stories, but there was one that came out from a colleague of ours who couldn't be here today, and it was a company-wide email on it, and it really moved me. So with his permission, with Tom Doherty's permission, I have that here to share with you all today. This is from Tom. I could not compose myself on that call, so I was unable to speak, but I had so much to say. I was Gabe's first planner at SpotX and worked as his planner every day for his entire career at SpotX and Magnite. When I first started working with him, I was struggling to keep up with everything. I was just not very good at my job. I got the technical aspects, but was struggling with the organization, timing, communication, and overall professionalism. We frustrated the hell out of each other for the entire first year. He was so tough to plan for because he had such high standards for the work he put out, which meant I was held to those same high standards, which was doubly frustrating because in addition to not living up to his standards, it highlighted my inability to live up to my own high expectations. He could have, probably should have, and honestly might have asked for a new planner, but he stuck with me. And he stuck with me. And he took me under his wing and mentored me, advocated for me, and taught me so much about the industry, but about what it meant to be a professional and what it means to be a good person. He refused to let me fail. Every time I fell short, he called me and worked with me to get plans where he needed them to be. And he helped me to get to where I needed to be as a person. He carried himself with such a jovial disposition, but always had this underlying intensity driven by his high expectations for himself and his ferocious curiosity. He poured himself into anything and everything he was involved in, from his family to his work, to his hobbies, to his every person in his life. His passion and positivity were even more infectious than his laugh. Every single conversation I had with him, I learned something. I felt heard and I laughed. His inability to be anything other than himself drew people to him and made him being around him effortless. To see someone so well-rounded and accomplished, both professionally and personally, was truly inspirational. I grew so much professionally and personally working with Gabe. There is not a single person that has had a more profound and positive impact on my career, and for that, I will always be indebted to him. Because of Gabe, I'm a better employee, better coworker, better gardener, a better cook, a better friend, and a better man. The industry lost a leader, the company lost a pillar, I lost a mentor, and we all lost a friend. Thanks.
Thank you everyone so much for sharing. If now we can hopefully just socialize and share and talk, just spend some time together. I think those are the kind of things that are probably most impactful for everyone. Thank you again for taking the time to be here. Gabe would very much appreciate it. I know his family appreciates hearing all of the memories from everybody. Look forward to chatting a little bit more while we're here.